You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all staying safe. It's another episode. This is episode 16 of the podcast. And this episode, we are on the NL edition of First Half Report Cards. You should already have seen these videos go up already. These videos will go up most likely. This video will be up as soon as possible once I'm done with this recording. The WNBA Week 9 season, actually Week 9 after the All-Star break, is actually starting next week. So get right back into it. It actually starts Tuesday. I'm saying that correctly. So we'll be back with the Washington Mystics content. We'll have everything uploaded as soon as possible. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe to all future content, even the one that you're seeing so far on the channel. Let's just get into it. The National League, for the most part, other than their victory from the All-Star game, it's looking pretty. It's where I would expect it. Nothing really changed. There's some teams that stood out. So a couple of teams that surprised me. And the NL East, I think, still has the. I think it can be competitive. I mean, in terms of it's not really where I thought it would be. I thought it would be competitive. Let me say it that way. And it's not what I expected it to be. The NL Central, I think, is anybody's race. There's one team in that division I'm going to talk about. I think that it can actually, in knowing how they are, I think they can surprise some, but we'll see. And then the NL West, I think there's three teams that are going to be have 500 records. So let's start in the NL East. We're going to start with my sleeper to get to the World Series, and that is the Atlanta Braves. Look, they're just on a mission. When you take in consideration Kyle Wright, Max Fried, they're on the IR, less than a week apart, and they're going to be out pretty much for most of the season. Sean Murphy, I think getting him in the office was a big pickup. Matt Olson, to me, is in the MVP conversation. Acuna Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., just coming off that in the ACL injury back in 2021. Even though I think he's number one on my category for MVP, Matt Olson should be right there. The Spencer Strider should be in the Cy Young conversation as well. Bryce Edler as well. They've held their own. I think you just need to get an extra arm in that rotation bullpen. It wouldn't hurt. But other than that, I think the Braves are doing all the right things. It's like I'm looking at one of the best teams in baseball. I mean, for me, um, we'll see once Kyle Wright and Max Fried come back off the ILs. At least what I read after the All-Star break. Michael Harris the second. I'm hoping he has a second half turnaround. I was really expecting him to do some big things this year, but he was on the IR. Travis d'Arnaud, Raciel Iglesias, Orlando Arcia. There's just been a lot of injuries. So, because he actually, another one, he was actually on my sleeper to make the All-Star team. But hey, you had 8 All-Stars go to 8 All-Stars this year. So shout out to the Braves, man. This next team, I think, could make some noise, and that is the Florida Marlins. I'm not calling them the Miami Marlins. No, I'm just kidding. The Miami Marlins. They're looking pretty good. Luis Ariz should also be in the conversation. At one point, he was batting 400. He's maintained. I think he's about like around 380. Jorge Soler, former Brave, he's leading the league in home runs. Now, the biggest thing we said about the Marlins was where was the power coming from? Nobody in that starting lineup is make that stands out and goes, okay, that's a home run hitter. Sandy Alcantara, let me see what he looks like in the second half of the season. He was starting to pick it up just going into in the All-Star break. Jesus Lozado, he stepped it up big time. Since May, they've been 28-13, if I'm saying that correct. Especially in one-win game situations. They're just struggling against their divisional rivals. Because right now, especially, they're 1-10. But it's interesting. They've beaten teams, Pittsburgh, Washington, St. Louis, Kansas City, Oakland. I mean, great interleague beating. I mean, that's fine, but gotta get some wins within your division. So I can't see them making a move or two. I could probably see maybe a couple, but I don't really see anything. They're not even in terms of. I can't. I mean, I'm gonna say this: the Jazz Chisholm experiment at center field. I think it's safe to say that that's failed. Because I mean, I think this will be his third injury coming into All-Star break. Let's just say that just didn't work, and let's go back to the drawing board. So, that's really other than that, that's really what I've seen from the Marlins. But big ups to them. They've been playing well. The team from last year, those Philadelphia Phillies, I'm not sure what's going on right now. Right now, they're struggling a little bit. Right now, they're 48-41, excuse me. They were tied with the Nationals for last place about in June, beginning of June, and then they started to pick it up. If they're in there fighting for a playoff spot. I'm not counting those games against Washington, even though Washington, there has been some progress and there's been some good games and some bad games, but they have not exceeded expectations. And yes, Bryce Harper's coming off an injury. He has not hit a home run since the 26th. They're two guys. They're number one, number two aces to me. Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler are starting to pick it up. I still, I'm looking for Trey Turner because this was the guy who played a big role in last year's championship game, and I'm not liking so far how he's looking. And they don't even have Ranger Suarez back, he was also a big part of last year's success, and he's he's not made his season debut yet. So let's see what they look like. I think they'll probably look for a couple pieces within before the trade deadline that they can use another pitcher. They can use a solid bat. But let's just see once everybody gets back healthy. I think they'll regain their form. And then this next team, this has been disappointing. This is, I think, after this year, I think you just got to break the band up. New York Mets. I appreciate what Steve Cohen as an owner is doing. He's invested $445 million to improve this team. I just think that a couple things, money. That's great to show that you are willing to invest in your team, but I think it's another when you're not winning, and that matters to me. For me, I think they've invested a lot, and you're not getting results. It just I'll give you an example. This recent game going I'm trying to figure out where the team was from last year that won 100 games. Let's see what they'll do. I mean, there was one point where they lost 12 of their 15, and there were losses where you go like, are you serious? And on top of that, they lost a team like Washington and Colorado. I think mentally they're just not there right now. I mean, yeah, that's great. I mean, the stats don't mean anything. Pete Alonso, I think he led, I think going into All-Star break of home runs. I don't. That's great. Stats don't mean anything if you're not winning games. So, and on top of that, I think he has to pay the luxury tax this year. So I'm really curious to see what they'll do, because I don't blame Buck Showalter for this poor performance so far. Max Scherzer has an ERA over 4. Verlander has an ERA of about 3.6, and without in the bullpen too. I didn't. And Edwin Diaz to me is the glue that held everything together. And they have an ERA over 4, and that hasn't helped them much neither. I'm just appalled because this is practically the same roster they had last year, and you're 4th in the NL East, and they can still make the playoffs and be unfortunately. I think they'll make the wild card. I'm going to say it right here: the New York Mets will make the playoffs. Guaranteed. I think they're going to get themselves on track. I think they're probably going to get an extra bullpen arm, and they're probably going to get a cheap bat. I can see them making some type of moves. I think they're going to get together. But if they don't make the playoffs this year, do expect the Mets to make some serious changes after this year, because you've invested way too much money in that, and this is the results. And then, as a DMV native, the Nationals, they were actually projected at the beginning of the season to have the worst record in baseball, and they've silenced that. The Nationals have played really well. There are there's been some good games, and there's been some hard games, some good games, and there's been some bad games where it's been hard to stomach. A couple times I've had to turn the TV off. There's some bright spots on this team. Lane Thomas, Josiah Gray, Mackenzie Gore, Keribert Ruiz, C.J. Abrams, Luis Gonzalez. I think this is definitely a core you can build with. Jameer Candelario most likely will be traded at the deadline. They're heading in the right direction. Let's see, and they got Dylan Cruz. So let's continue to this youth movement, but I definitely see some good things. I think there's been a lot of overachieving, and I see what this team can be. So let's just continue to just build on what we have. It's looking good because I think they're good. I think the Nationals are going to win 70 games. I'm going to say 65, 67 games, but for a young team, especially with that Juan Soto and Josh Bell trade, those trades they've overachieved, in my opinion, as a rebuilding team. So let's move to the NL Central. This division, I'm actually surprised. It's actually not what I expected. Let's start with the Cincinnati Reds. For the most part, they've really actually been playing well. Before they called up Ely De La Cruz, they were already playing well. They had won 7 of their last 12. If I'm saying that correctly. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Joey Votto, he coming off his injury. They've been 22-8. I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. They've played really, really well. I was a little concerned with this team too because they were kind of in that, what do we do? What's to really build around? And they've proven and they've actually silenced a lot of critics. I do expect them to probably make a trade or two. But I like the core with Jonathan India, Spencer Steele, TJ Friedel, Hunter Green. I'm waiting for him to come off the IR. Graham Ashcraft and Alexis Diaz, Edwin Diaz's brother, just been gems. So I don't think they'll finish. I think they'll finish with the best record. I think they'll finish with 88, 87 wins. I see them winning the division. But I think it all depends on this next team, the Milwaukee Brewers. They've actually picked it up really well as well, to me. Corbin Burns, who's I think is having a great season. He's had an ERA is exactly at 4. I don't think it should just be him. Not having Brandon Woodruff there, Freddie Peralta, I'm looking for him to step up. Christian Yelich, he's looking like he's making the case for MVP conversation because he's starting to regain his ML from his MVP from a few years ago. I'm liking what I'm seeing from this Brewer team. Probably won't see Brandon Woodruff until probably towards the end of August, early September. I mean, the only guy I could say I think they've done just fine. I think this is a team that's just a roster that's put together and they're just going out there and competing. But other than that, I mean, Devin Williams, he's been holding the fort down with the bullpen. Once they get Brandon Woodruff back, I think they're in great shape. I mean, Corbin Baines, he had really just 2 bad starts, and they'll get it together in the second half. The Cubbies, Chicago Cubs, Nick Rosario, same thing. Got a lot of talent. Patrick Wisdom, Marcus Stroman, Nico Horner, Justin Steele. There's a lot there. I think they can definitely make a trade. I could see them getting another bat or 2. I don't see them falling off. I predict that they're going to win 86, 87 games. For me, they just got to finish games just down the stretch. Some of those games they wish they could take back, but it's actually funny, the statistic in 1-run games, they're 2-8, and out of those 8 losses, 4 of them come against Miami. If I'm saying that right. So they just gotta put it. I think they know how to put it together. They just gotta finish. So I'm actually not I'm liking what I'm seeing for the Cubs. I think they'll get it together in the second half. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they're another team that have been pretty good. I mean, hey, Rich Hill and Andrew McCutcheon, Carlos Santana, have all had their veteran leadership you need in a young locker room like Pittsburgh. Mitch Kellner, who I think who's having a good year. Jack Suwinski, I like him. Brian Reynolds, I'm glad they got that contract situation taken care of before the season started. It's interesting to see what this team's look like. I think they're doing same thing just like Washington almost. Unfortunately, towards May they were 20-8. They had the best record, and then after that, just kind of went downhill. Milwaukee had this thing, just had a mental funk there, because I think they're, as of right now, I think they're like a game and a half up in the division. That's where they were, and they're like just a half a game back. So this is another team. They've overachieved. So let's see what they do. I think there'll be a buyer, might be a seller, but I think they're going to get a bat or two, another pitcher. So I see them actually surprising some, but I think they're going to finish with a 500 record. And this is my sleeper team to actually make some surprises, but I don't expect anything. The St. Louis Cardinals. They've just coming out the gate struggled. We're going into May. I believe they won 14 out of their 20, and they were third place. And then unfortunately, they lost the next 17, particularly the last game. I believe it was against Houston, and that was embarrassing. I think it's time to move on, break this team up in a sense. Jordan Walker, who started on the major league roster the opening day, they demoted him because he actually was batting around 275. They moved Wilson Contreras from catcher to DH. Jack Flaherty, I look at him. I always looked at him as the number one guy once Adam Wainwright moved on, and he has the worst second. He has a second worst walk rate as of this season.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. Mm-mm. What do you want me to say to that?
Other than that, this is the first. I don't know what it is, but for me, the Cardinal teams, when I'm still a young buck, and as a sports guy, the Cardinal teams were always competitive. Their last subpar record below 500 was 1919, and they haven't really endured. They haven't seen anything like this since 2007. And when you look at it, there are only 8 games, if I'm saying this correctly, from the NL Central before going into the second half of the season. Knowing the Cardinals, I feel like this could be a turnaround for them, because they're one of those teams that can just randomly get hot at the right time, and I kind of see that now. There's some decision making they're going to have to do. I don't see Tyler O'Neill staying with them. I think he's going to move on, because there was a situation that occurred. It was at the beginning of the season, and they had taken him out the starting lineup. I can't remember what that was off my head. Your reigning MVP, Paul Goldschmidt, I think he's going to move on. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do about Nolan Arenado's contract. Personally, if you want to rebuild, you got to figure out what you're going to do about that contract. I think Jack Flaherty, Jordan Hicks are guys I can see what I could get something for. But other than that, it's disappointing right now to see the Cardinals perform like this. Before we get to the NL West, let's get to the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will with Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
You can most certainly do that with a nice 15% off your final purchase. Big Nate for 50% off. Thank you for Zagnif Apparel for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. We'll be right back. And we're back. And let's just go ahead and get to the NL West because we have to play this team, and I'm already not liking what I have. I already see what it's going to be. That team in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is my sleeper also too to get to the one. It's going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Atlanta Braves in the conference finals. It's interesting when you look at this Dodger team. There's really no flaws, really. I just think, other than you're trailing Atlanta by 10 games, if I'm saying that correctly, and then the Diamondbacks are on your tail. I do think that the only biggest things with Clayton Kershaw, I believe I think he's still on the IR, if I'm saying that correctly. But other than that, I mean, like, there's really nothing we shouldn't expect it, because they actually did start at 500, and again, one thing about baseball, it's a game of runs. Once you get hot, there's no looking back. Because they swept the Cardinals, Phillies, and then they got San Diego, Milwaukee. So I just think their biggest weakness is the infield, I would say. I think they could use either second or shortstop, in my opinion. But I see them winning 93 games. But it all depends on how this next team looks. The Arizona Diamondbacks. It's actually interesting. Real quick. So I play fantasy baseball, and one of my opponents literally drafted the entire roster of the Diamondbacks. And I was like, is this a trick? But no, I just wanted to just put that out there. It was just weird. I don't know why some do that. But the Diamondbacks, hey, they're looking really good. Corbin Carroll, I I might get some flack for this, but we need to consider him, to me, rookie of the year. And I might have to put him in that MVP conversation a little bit because he's batting 290, about 18 home runs. He's stolen 24 bases. Really, also, too, I think we need to also make sure Merrill Kelly, he had a blood clot, so he had to be put on the IR. I hope he's doing well. Just sending just thoughts and prayers, and just a speedy, a safe recovery. I think the rotation, they're going to hold the fort down until he comes back. That's really only other thing I've noticed. That's kind of the only issue, but I do see them looking to add a starting pitcher. It's actually interesting. They actually almost had the NL West for a hot month, and then the Dodgers got hot at the right time. I think they just need they just got to figure some things out. But other than that, they're doing fine. Alec Thomas, he's another one. Brandon Faddet, Drew Jamison, Ryan Nelson, those guys. I think they'll bounce back. Gerardo Perdomo, Gabriel Moreno in the trade from Toronto, they've excelled. But Alec Thomas, I was expecting him to kind of have a good year, but I think they'll have a bounce back year. So second half of the season, as they always say, there's plenty of room for improvement. The San Francisco Giants. This is a sleeper to make some heads turn. They actually had a 10-game win streak in June, and then finished with a 38-25 record in May. I at first was skeptical, as well as many others, about some of the moves they made. However, Logan Webb, Camilo Duvall, the Roger twins, Trevor and Tyler Rogers, they've been gems. Lamont Wade Jr., Maryland guy, he's been playing well. Jock Peterson, J.D. Davis, Patrick Bailey. I want to give him his flowers. This was a guy who was taken in 2020 in the first round. I'm like, okay, this is a good success story. So he's definitely been in there as well. I'm still holding out hope for Joey Bart. I think he'll get it together. But for me, but the moves that they've made, Michael Conforto, Alex Wood, Brandon Crawford, Sean Manaea, I mean, they're all doing well. So there's nothing really too disappointing. I think this is kind of where we would expect the Giants a little bit, even though I'd like to see them recuperate that success back in from 21, where they won 107 games the year Buster Posey retired. But I think they'll finish. I think they'll win 80, 85, 86 games. That's just my opinion. I just think they're going to probably be a seller. No, I'll take it. I think they're going to be a buyer. They're probably going to get an extra arm starting in the rotation, maybe another cheap but quality bat. So we'll see. The San Diego Padres, they've they let me be careful. The San Diego Padres are a classic example of putting a team of great players, but you can't have games where you play like what you say you can be, and then play down to certain teams. They're not consistent. I mean, sure, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr. they've been playing well, especially Tatis Jr. Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado are starting to pick it up, because especially when you've invested $630 million in both players. When you look at those guys, what stands out about the Padres? It's depth. They truly lack it. And
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
And I'm just concerned because when you don't have depth, especially when you're built that top heavy, it's going to be hard for you to stay competitive and really win games. I mean, Blake Snell, I like the acquisition of Gary Sanchez, because there was a stat, I think, before Gary Sanchez came on signed with them, Blake Snell was struggling. And Joe Musgrove, they're starting to turn it around. But I just feel like the San Diego Padres are going to be an example of what the Mets, yet the Yankees, Mets, and Phillies are. You're paying exorbitant amounts of money, and this is your result. I don't see them making the playoffs. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to come across as a hater, but they got a lot of ground to make up. And at this point, I would expect the Padres I'd expected them to be the better team in this division. And when you got Los Angeles, Arizona, and San Francisco, I don't see it. I hope they prove me wrong, but I don't see it personally. And painfully, the Colorado Rockies. There's really not much to say other than this is another example of a team that's clearly in rebuilding mode. I don't really know what the identity at this point is for the Rockies. There's been some games this year where I just feel bad for them because their pitching staff has just been mediocre. They've allowed 49 consecutive runs. 49 games, 49 consecutive games. They allowed 327 runs. If I'm saying that correctly. They've allowed, I want to say, 6 runs per game. And I mean, even like over the years, they've not really been a great pitching team, especially when they play at home. And if you look, they've had 11 different pitchers this year, whether they're spot starters or spot starting, and they have an ERA almost close to 5. I mean, they need a lot. I mean, other than the ship's listing on starboard and port side. I mean, the ballast, it needs repair. The ship is just in dire need of a complete overhaul. It needs a lot. I mean, other than Ryan McMahon.
What was that? What the hell was that? I'm sorry the H words and the D words aren't appropriate over the airwaves, but it's going to be today. I don't know how much more of this I can take. How in God? I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord. I
mean, damn!
I'll say this, and I'm not being funny when I say this. The bright spot, other than Ryan McMahon, is Chris Bryant, who he's been picking it up. He's batting over 300. Unfortunately, he's not in double figures of home runs. This is the second year of his 7-year deal worth $182 million. Excuse me. But when you have a team payroll with $178 million,
You stink. Let me just get that out the way. You stink.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
So, other than that, it's just I don't know what their ownership group. I don't understand their moves, their ideology. I don't understand any of it. It sucks to see the Rockies like that, because I remember some of those Rocky teams, they had some great players. Todd Helton, Troy Tulowitzki, Carlos Gonzalez, Larry Walker, Juan Uribe, the big first baseman Galarraga, Jay Payton. They've had some decent players. The year they got to the World Series, Matt Holliday and those guys. It's just bad to really see it the way how it's looking right now. I think they'll win 65 games, and that's it. But there's no otherbody else in that lineup that's in double hit other than Ryan McMahon, who's hit 10 or more home runs. Nobody else. Now, I will say they did us a favor beating the Yankees the other day. So, no, they play the Yankees, if I'm saying that correctly. Excuse me, I apologize. They're going to play the Yankees. So, I'm looking forward to that. I'm thinking about another series before the All-Star break. I'm sorry. They're getting ready to play the Yankees in the second half. So I'm hoping that they do us a favor, crossing fingers. But other than that, that's what's happening up in Colorado. So let's get to the final thought of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
I think this second half of baseball is going to be some good stories. Either you're going to see some surprises. I'm super stoked to what this second half of the season is going to look like for all teams. I'm definitely watching that trade deadline for sure. My eyes are going to be on it because there's some teams that could really make a trade or two. But that's really just my final thought. It was a great All-Star weekend. I enjoyed it, not just with baseball, but for the WNBA. I'm hoping to get Brendan Potts on the show. He was actually out there in Vegas. So it was a great week to watch. Have a great festivity for All-Star for MLB, WNBA. Other than that, man, just enjoy the rest of your weekend. Excuse me. Let's have a great week. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Thank you for tuning in for Thank you for tuning into this episode. Excuse me. Be tuned in for future episodes. I've got some more content coming out to you as soon as possible. The MLB draft grades. My grades are almost complete. I'll have that video out for you most likely by next Wednesday, Thursday-ish. So you'll see that video soon. But again, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you on the flip side.
I'm elevated, oh yeah. We was waiting, oh yeah. To make a statement, it's clear. The way them boys persevere. Yo, we taking the stairs. Don't let them get in our ear. They go watch, I'ma stare. Tell them pull up a chair. God gon' answer our prayers. Living now. They told me dreams come true once you live it out. I picked the pieces from my childhood in a broken house. And heal my soul from the trauma we've been giving out. I hear the whispers in the wind under smoky clouds and tell myself once again, I'ma work it out. So much shit can happen, yo, it got me tripping now. Yeah, it's feeling different now.
I wonder if it's worth living now. They told me working 9 to 5 just to make it out. And now the dark nights got me needing mouth to mouth. Resuscitate my dreams, tell me what it's all about. I wonder if it's worth living now. They told me show a little skin just to make it out. They told me grind until I doubt, till I reach the clouds. Excuse me a little moment while I break out. Never let them take me out.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.